A professional counselor in the Dallas area is growing in popularity for his treatment methods.
How do you talk to kids about terror? And with social media and television, it's everywhere, and it's unavoidable for kids.
Rusty Lozano is the founder of the Center for Biofeedback and Behavior Therapy. He's also been nationally recognized for his work with brain mapping.
He's created a gym to work out the mind. His office features an obstacle course.
Rusty Lozano is a licensed professional counselor, helping children with headaches, with anxiety, ADHD, and more.
Here's where Lozano comes in. He teaches kids how to think their pain away with something called biofeedback.
A North Texas therapist is treating patients in this unconventional way.
We have Rusty Lozano who's joining us today. He's a licensed professional counselor.
He put together an unusual treatment for teenagers who are struggling with mental issues, except he's taking this now a step further.
Rusty Lozano, a leading therapist and pediatric biofeedback therapist based in Texas at the Center for Biofeedback and Behavior Therapy. And Rusty, thanks for being with us tonight.
Rusty Lozano, a father of 4 and also a professional counselor in Texas, says it's all about being a credible resource to your children.
The Therapy Hour with Rusty Lozano, your dedicated resource for mental health news, views, and tips you can use. Brought to you by the Center for Biofeedback and Behavior Therapy in Addison, Texas. And now, here's Rusty.
Hi, good afternoon, and welcome to the Therapy Hour. This is Rusty Lozano. I am your host. The show is brought to you by the Center for Biofeedback and Behavior Therapy in Addison, Texas. And we welcome you to the show. I had a show planned today called Overdrive, and we're gonna move that show, and we're gonna actually do something different today. This show is going to be called Harmony, and you're when you hear the story, you're going to understand a little bit why, like why people sometimes need to be on medication. Children need to be on medication, and it's not an uncommon occurrence. You know, more and more people are actually on meds. It's 7 in 10 Americans. Now, this is some statistics from the Mayo Clinic and Olmsted Medical Center Research Center. They said that nearly 70% of Americans are on at least one prescription drug, and more than half take 2. And so then the Mayo Clinic and the Olmsted Medical Center further go on to say that the most common types of medications are antibiotics, antidepressants, pain-killing opiates, and some of these other, you get into attentional issues, and of course then more the anti-anxiolytics. So what happens then when you have a household that has a child that is struggling and they need to get some sort of help? So medication is a super necessity in some cases. So when your household gets turned upside down by constant arguments, resistance, tense emotions, it could be a solace. It could be a way of actually getting peace in the household. And it's not that I think that sometimes we actually become so overwhelmed that we try to address these things with our children and rationalize with them. But then as we consistently try to rationalize, what's going on with them, that they sometimes, you're not getting any kind of leadway. Nothing's changing, right? So what I want to do is welcome this family, Brenda, Aaron, and Tyler, onto the show. And let's talk a little bit about like how your life is transformed with medication and treatment and how things are different. But first, let's talk a little bit, Brenda, about when did you start seeing all this happen?
Well, Tyler was first diagnosed with Tourette's at 7. But then I didn't see the aggression, the depression, and all the other things that go along with it until he was probably about 9, maybe 10. Mm-hmm. But maybe I just wasn't looking for it too. Maybe it was always there. I just didn't see it.
And so, and I'm thinking, like when you have a child that young, you start thinking that maybe, well, he's just kind of acting up. He's just kind of throwing a fit.
Exactly.
He's just being ornery.
Exactly.
Some of the more common, types of of understandings that we have, so you may need to pick your battles,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But since something kind of changed, I mean, you started to notice a trend that, something was different.
Yeah. One day when we had come home from wherever, and my mom had been visiting with us, and she had bought him a new winter coat. And he came in the house and just threw it on the floor. And I asked him to come back and pick it up, and he went. It set him off. I don't know why, but it just set him off. And the next thing I know, we're having a heated argument about picking up a jacket. And I remember my mom saying to me, this was after he was diagnosed with Tourette's, was saying, you can't parent him the same way you can another child. He needs to be parented differently.
She noticed something
Oh,
different.
absolutely.
Like something was very different about that.
So I made sure that, I tried to parent him differently, but it wasn't working. And I could see him escalate and escalate and escalate to the point where he was, punching holes in a piece of furniture with a pencil. Now, this is not normal. This is not normal.
This is at 9 years old.
Yeah, it wasn't normal. And I could tell he was just really angry. And I noticed, looking back on it now, I noticed that it was transitions, stopping him when he was going to do something or he was heavily involved in something. That's when his aggression, his anxiety, his everything would just blow up like a volcano. There was always those transition times.
So pulling him out of a comfort zone, and that was a common trigger.
Correct.
Yesterday I had a patient, because I work a lot with anxiety. Mm-hmm. I work with an array of different kinds of disorders. And my primary objective, I'm a counselor, but I also am a biofeedback therapist. And yesterday we were actually I was working with a child who had panic disorder. And we were about maybe an hour into the session, and because, we're doubling up because school's, coming back to school, and so we did an extended amount of treatment. And her mom was in there with us. And as we were actually working through techniques to try to relax her body, because the concept is that if your body is relaxed, then
your mind is relaxed.
Yeah, your mind is relaxed, and there's nothing charging and heating the emotions. And so something was very different about, this experience for her. She kept fighting it. And tears would be running down her face. And so then, we'd compromise and try to relax a certain amount of her body. And then finally she just stood up and she says, I'm done with this. And then she got to the door, and before she left, I was like, wait, before you leave, I just want you to know that if you walk out that door, then you are confirming your anxiety. You're confirming the fear, whatever thought you had that made you get up to leave, you're just making it a reality at this point because you're acting on it. And then she left. And then the mom was very upset, and she was crying, and she says, this is what it is. And I had the conversation that, I get a lot of families that come in that say that they don't necessarily want to medicate their child. And I looked at her and I said, we're going to need to consider this now.
We tried everything.
Yep.
We tried everything. We even tried behavior modification.
Mm-hmm.
And where he went to see a counselor for a little while. And I wasn't in the room. I know they played games. I know they talked a lot. But nothing changed. Nothing was different. And it just wasn't working.
And so, and that's the thing. I mean, when you start seeing these behaviors, just like the child that left, there's a reality there. There's something something else that's going on that you can't rationalize with.
Right.
And I call that being in this internal environment. They're experiencing the world more from this emotional state and not an intellectual state. So they can't intellectualize their own, I call it upsetness. I don't even know if that's a word. But they can't intellectualize their emotions. They can't intellectualize and know that, okay, I'm feeling really upset right now. I need to calm myself down. They actually act on it. They can't there's no perspective outside of what they're experiencing.
Yeah, it's like a fire.
Mm-hmm.
And once it starts, it has to take itself out.
And so that's what you found yourself doing then when he wouldn't pick up the coat. And then we're going to get really into this. But this is actually, that's a prime example of when you know something is different, with the way that your child is experiencing these particular moments, that there's something more intense going on underlyingly. And you can't tell from the naked eye, except somebody who's an outside perspective.
Right.
Because you've seen this like your entire life. I mean, you grew up with him. You didn't grow up with him, but you raised him and from a little potato to, as a big child that he is. And then you started to actually see that, these are his mannerisms, and that's just who my child is and what they do. But your mom saw it.
My mom saw it.
Yeah. And I think that's an important thing, having outside perspective and knowing that there's something a little different. And I think that parents can really find themselves in a situation that they might have some difficulty really coming to terms with or recognizing it. And, because we accept our children 100%.
Yes.
Right? And so, but there's some things that we might have some difficulty coming to terms with and knowing, okay, this is different.
Right.
My child is not being a little, tiff, but this is something substantially different. And I think that, we learn those things as we kind of evolve and see our child suffer and go through some things. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're gonna pick this up and keep talking about what your experience was like. Be right back.
Look, you can't go a week without hearing how the Ford F-150 is way ahead, leaving every other truck choking on its gravel. And when it comes to safety, the truck that leads the pack is the high-strength military-grade aluminum alloy body Ford F-150. F-150 is the only pickup to earn both of the most important safety awards in America. First, it earned the government's highest overall safety rating, 5 stars, for all sides and all cab configurations. And now, F-150s earn the IIHS top safety pick on Super Cab and Super Crew with optional forward collision warning. The competition? Yeah, right. Just don't ask for both safety awards, because that ain't happening, pal. Let's review. F-150's the only pickup to earn both awards. Once again, raising the stakes for what a truck should be. This is the safest Ford F-150 ever, and every other truck is history.
Government 5-star safety ratings are part of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration's new car assessment program. Tests include driver and passenger front side and side barrier pull tests.
A Napa guy knows the only way you'd give a freshly minted driver a brand new car is if he promises to never drive it. Instead, let him grind the gears and knock over the neighbor's mailbox in something a little more suited to his skill level. And with over 400,000 parts and a little Napa know-how, he can safely drive something that's nearly as old as he is. It's not perfect, but it's perfect for him. That's Napa know-how.
Texas. It's a big state with a whole lot of wind blowing around. What can we do with all that wind? Or what do you say we power all of our homes with pure, 100% wind energy? At Breeze Energy, we're totally 100% green. We don't do coal or nuclear, and we never will. So why not go with the wind? Go to breezeenergy.com. We think you'll see we're a genuine breath of fresh air.
This is my car. I mean, it's nothing fancy, but it's nice. Gets me to work and to the mall, though it's kind of trash with all my stuff. I swear there must be 30 CDs laying around. And my workout bag. Oh, and my laptop. Like I said, a mess, right?
It's perfect.
But it's perfect for me. Good gas mileage, and once it's paid off, all mine.
Oh, my.
Hey, want to go for a drive? Let me get my purse. Just be a second.
Just takes a second.
Where you are, they are. Last year in Texas, car thieves stole roughly 100,000 cars and trucks and burglarized thousands more. They looked for anything of value inside, or if you left your keys or failed to lock the doors. When you leave your vehicle, hide your things, lock your car, and take your keys. Remember, you hold the key.
Okay, I'm back. And my car? Where's my car?
This warning from the Texas Auto Burglary and Theft Prevention Authority.
You're listening to the Therapy Hour with Rusty Lozano, brought to you by the Center for Biofeedback and Behavior Therapy in Addison, Texas.
Hi, and welcome back to the show. If you're just joining us, we have a family here who has a child who went through some really difficult things, experiencing really difficult emotions, difficult scenarios in the household that later necessitated medication, and the outcome was pretty outstanding. But we're kind of laying the foundation. We kind of want to really understand what it was like for you living in the household and slowly coming to terms that, something needs to be done. You made the comment, over the break that the behavior modification didn't work.
No.
So, and what we were discussing,
it didn't modify.
It didn't modify nothing.
No.
So, and what we were discussing was, the coat that was on the floor and the amount of turmoil and issues it took to really, get him to pick up the coat. I don't even know if he did, or if he just flat out just refused.
I actually put my hand over his hand and made him pick it up.
Mm-hmm. And that was probably with a lot of tears.
Oh gosh. And embarrassment, because my mom was there, and I didn't want her to think I was being a bad mother and not teaching him, respect for his things. We'd just come back from the mall, that the coat that she bought him, and he threw it on the ground as he walked in. Not in an aggressive manner, but just as if he didn't care. He just, took up his coat, threw it on the ground, and walked away.
So in some cases, I can visualize parents just walking away from a situation like this, but not you.
No.
Nah. And I know, like, your household, and I know that they're like how involved you are, and the things that you actually did to recover from situations like that, or make the situation better.
Yeah.
Give me another situation. So this is when Tyler was 9. Let's fast forward a little bit. Like let's talk around like puberty. Around that time, this is like when a lot of things really start to change in children. Around that 11,
Puberty
12,
is just
13.
steroids for aggression. It's just pure aggression. It's scary, because he became somebody that I didn't recognize anymore, and it was to the point where it was just, I was afraid he'd hurt himself, or I was just afraid.
Can you identify one of those moments and what that was like for you?
I think, looking at it, he felt like it's like he had to go through that path, even though he knew it didn't feel good, it wasn't right, because afterwards he would always apologize up and down. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. That's not me. And I knew it's not him. It was like he became someone else, as if he became the Incredible Hulk. He has this strength that is unbelievable when he's that angry.
Let's go back. Afterwards. When afterwards?
When he's calm.
So you mean after the scenarios kind of cooled down?
Yeah, it's like the ash that falls out of the volcano once it's all settled. Then he realizes, I messed up, and I'm sorry. And he was so authentic, and I knew he was sorry. He just was out of control, out of his own control. He could not. He didn't have any tools to help him see that I shouldn't be doing this. I need to calm down.
Can you tell me one of those moments? What specifically happened?
I can't, because there's so many. They run together. Maybe my husband could maybe chime in and talk about one of those moments, but
I can tell how emotional you're right on the cusp, and it's really difficult. You've had a long journey.
Yeah.
For me, the one I guess I remember, and my wife can attest, I have a terrible memory, but the one that I can remember is he had a picture of a car in his bathroom, and
a big one.
like poster
size.
size.
Yeah.
Poster size. And I don't know what caused it to. I think he got mad and just slammed was punching the wall in the bathroom, and the picture frame fell and to the ground. Thank goodness it wasn't glass. It was just plexi. And it fell, and it kind of fell apart. It was one of those that you kind of snapped the frame around it.
Yeah.
So the pieces fell apart. And after I assessed the damage to the bathroom, I saw that the picture was on the ground. And I said, you're going to have to pick that up. You have to put it back together. Well, that was met with the consternation of, no, I'm not touching anything. I'm not going to pick up anything. You take care of it, Dad. And that's one of those that kind of sets you on your heels as a father.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, I don't know if you remember, but you're my son and I'm your dad. And that's not the way you talk to me.
Yeah.
And so immediately I'm getting angrier by his opposition, and his heels are dug in, and he is not going to back down. I mean, like, you are going to fix that, Dad. I'm not touching it. And oh man, we just kept cycling and getting madder and angrier, and the volume got higher and higher, and I was screaming at the top of my. At a certain point, you kind of like lose. I almost like you black out and lose consciousness.
Sure,
You're like not even normal. You just like start doing things that you go. Hindsight 2020. I can't believe I was yelling that loud because nothing was going to change.
No.
But you think if you get louder and more boisterous, that you're going to. All of a sudden, he's going to get convinced that it's, oh yeah, you're right. I got to fix that.
And you're emotionally upset. I mean, you're getting angry. I mean, this is really like seeding deep into like you're biting anger.
Exactly, and nothing gets solved at that point. And so it takes the third person in this triangle of family, my wife, to step in, and she realized nothing good was going to come from that conversation or that argument. And so she kind of pulls you out of it to say, snaps the fingers or whatever and says, Aaron, you got to stop. It's just not going to happen.
So how did he respond? How did he respond when you got that anger screaming at the top of your lungs?
He met me. I mean, he
matched
my emotions. It wasn't, not one time did he ever back down.
Never.
So you guys were escalating each other.
Absolutely.
Equal escalation. And that's what kind of just, I don't know, baffled, bothered, whatever. And when you're in the heat of the moment, it's kind of like you bow up and you're like, no, I'm the adult here. There's no way you're supposed to be increasing your anger with me. You're going to back down at some point. So I'm just going to keep getting louder and more angry. And at some point you're going to back down. And that some point never came. It just never came. And that's when, thankfully, my wife stepped in and said, Aaron, you just got to stop. You're not going to win this. You're not. Going back to the illustration that my wife said earlier about the coat, it wasn't a matter of me putting my hand on his hand and having him pick up the pieces. That was not going to work in this situation.
No.
It had past a point of no return.
So it had escalated to a point. Brenda was saying, stop.
Yep.
Okay, you separated,
yep.
right?
Yep.
So you went your way, and I'm assuming he probably stayed there. He went away also.
Correct.
What happened?
No, he stayed in the bathroom.
He stayed there.
And he destroyed it.
He was hunkered down, and I'm in the kitchen or the living room.
We can just hear.
And you can just hear destruction.
He was destroying the poster.
Just,
oh, no, the room.
Yeah,
he was destroying the room.
Anything you could think.
The towel bar on the wall.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it was just like, and I'm sitting in the living room, and I can hear it. It's not. You can just hear like someone's hitting a ball against a wall, and you're like, "Oh, that's my bathroom getting destroyed." But what's going to come of it if I go in there? It's just going to get. It's going to get
probably
ugly.
in shock too.
Yes.
I mean, you're just like, I can't believe this. I mean, this is like.
And until we hear him cry, that's when we know he's coming down.
Yep.
Coming down off that mountain.
So you've had to adapt your behaviors then, your interactions, and use his emotional responses as a barometer.
Absolutely.
You know when to step in.
Yes.
Okay, he's too hot right now.
Yes.
So that means that you guys are you were tiptoeing around him.
Mm-hmm.
You had to.
At that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because like my inclination is that as a therapist looking at this as a family situation, I would have said, stop the escalation. Step away from it. Mm-hmm. Don't let it escalate. Don't entertain that. But at the same time, I think there's another part of this story, and that's like, seeing how he is,
mm-hmm.
and that there's that intervention then becomes twofold,
mm-hmm.
and then that would have necessitated the call for some sort of intervention, some sort of treatment, But medication was never brought up?
No. He was being treated just on his clonidine for his tics and for that kind of stuff for his Tourette's. And I know that the first doctor we saw, she wanted to put him on Haldol, which is a pretty heavy-duty medication.
Yeah.
And I knew what we were looking at, so I did my research, and I knew kind of which drugs I wanted to maybe try first. But she went straight for the guns. She wanted to go straight for Haldol, and I said no. Because some of the side effects are terrible. They're irreversible. That's it. You're left.
A powerful sedative.
Absolutely. And I said no. So she says, well, we may have to try a number of drugs before we get to the right one. I said, fine. Let's start on the bottom. We tried clonidine, and it worked. It really did the trick. But then, we started seeing the aggression because of puberty. Puberty came in and it took over him.
Mm-hmm.
And we tried.
Did it work completely? Or just it kind of offsets some of the symptoms?
It offsets some of the symptoms.
Partial.
Yeah. And then we got it to see another doctor, and she was great, and she gave us some good advice, and she sent us to go see you.
And then there's another story there. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back after these messages.
Hi, this is Bernadette. Do you want to get to know your body inside and out? Now you can tune into One Life Radio twice a day. Wake up with us at 5 and go to lunch with us at noon. Weekdays right here on Talk Radio 1190.
When I was younger, I thought that cheaper was always better. And then I learned when I was serving on city council that sometimes the low bid is the worst bid. It's better to get it right. It's better to go with quality. We've had so much rain in Texas over the last year. I mean, so much rain that if you have clogged gutters, your gutters aren't functioning properly, you're probably doing damage to your foundation. You're probably doing long-term damage. Call Leaf Guard. Their gutters don't clog. And if they ever did, they'll come out and fix it. They won't have to, but they'd come out and fix it for you free.
This month, get 75% off labor and $200 Visa gift card with a qualifying purchase. Set up your free gutter inspection and estimate today and get a $25 gas card just for letting Leaf Guard show you how they can make your life easier. No purchase necessary. 214-504-2154. That's 214-504-2154. Or go to their website at guttersdallas.com.
Not available in all states.
Whoa, what do you have there?
It's a Reese and Irvy's frozen yogurt. We just had our robot make one.
A robot made your frozen yogurt?
Yes, from Reese and Irvy's, the world's first fully interactive robot vending machine that serves 9 flavors of delicious yogurt with 6 amazing toppings. And it's available for an exclusive franchise opportunity.
Wait, you mean I can own my own frozen yogurt robots?
And make money at the same time. These robots are the future of frozen yogurt franchising. They can be placed almost anywhere and operate 24/7. Malls, theme parks, grocery stores, you name it.
A robot that serves frozen yogurt. That's revolutionary.
Exactly. Reese and Irvy's Froyo robots are taking the market by storm. No more messy yogurt bars, long lines, or do-it-yourself machines. Just delicious frozen yogurt in 60 seconds or less. Anytime, anywhere.
How do I get my own Reese and Irvy's robots?
It's easy, but you better act now. Locations and machines are going fast. Just go to froyofranchising.com. That's froyofranchising.com. Check it out now. froyofranchising.com.
You're listening to the Therapy Hour with Rusty Lozano, brought to you by the Center for Biofeedback and Behavior Therapy in Addison, Texas.
Hi, we're back from the break. If you're just joining us, we're visiting with a family, Brenda, Aaron, and Tyler, who are sharing their story of Tyler's journey to getting on medication and the right kind of meds to help with with a lot of the behaviors that he exhibited growing up. You made a statement just now. Can you repeat what you just said? We have these conversations over the break, and I'm like, oh, we can just catch this. What was it do you recall what you just said a second ago?
I think what I said is that what was going on with him wasn't just affecting him, it was affecting our relationship as mother and son, and his relationship as, with my husband and him, and us as a family. And it also came into play with our marriage, because it was just a big I don't know the word to say, but it was very destructive. The destruction that he was using, I think physically, came to play into our minds mentally, and it was there. And I always knew that, if we could make it through this, there's nothing that's going to stop this family, nothing, because that was a terrible time.
Yeah, it's I think about it, you think about when you're going to have the talk with your son, or you're going to have a conversation about something, you as parents, sometimes you think about it in advance and you talk through it beforehand, kind of get on the same page, and almost orchestrate almost to a script of, okay, this is the part I'm going to cover and this is the part you're going to cover, and
right.
you as a team, as a parental unit, you're on the same page. When stuff like this happens, there's no warning. There's no you get to run through it beforehand. There's none of that.
Trials, no rehearsals.
No rehearsal. Exact. Great word. There's none of that. And so when it does go down and things don't go according to plan, there's always that aftermath that you kind of look at each other and go, and there's that second, you second thought each other and go, that's not how I would have handled that.
Exactly.
Oh, why did you get so mad about it, Aaron? Or
I would have handled it like this.
Exactly. And so we started questioning each other. And to my wife's point, it's all of a sudden now we're like at each other's throats about that. I don't think
because you're trying to figure it out, right?
Yeah.
And then now you're going back, you're backtracking and maybe disagreeing with what you did and what she said, and then you're critical of that because it didn't work. Oh, you should have done that. So you kind of get put in a situation where your parenting style now becomes more instinctual, and you're gravitating, you're reaching for things that make sense to you, seem very practical, but at the moment, it could be very questionable. I mean, not necessarily unhealthy, but even against your own senses. I wouldn't have said that. I wouldn't have done that. And we get to that point. I think as parents, we really
start
do.
Judging each other.
Yeah, I mean, on the thing, you you used an expletive when you were sorry.
How did that one get in there?
Yeah.
But you do the best you can, right? And so here comes now a treatment situation. You guys came to my office.
Yep.
You were referred by an outstanding physician.
Outstanding.
And that's Dr. Patricia Morales. And she's a child neurologist, and she's just to kind of say a little bit about her, I think she's remarkable in the way that she's a young mom and has young children, and she gets it. I mean, I think that you need that kind of touch when it comes to working with families.
I went into her office. I remember going in, and we do the whole how's everything going, and I just broke down and I cried and I cried and I said, help me. I can't do this anymore. It's too much. I can't fix my family. We're falling apart. And she said, I'm going to send you to Rusty.
Yep.
What are you feeling right now, Brenda?
I'm just reliving those moments that I felt like it was helpless and I was hopeless, and this is not the family that I thought we were going to be. I had all these visions when I was pregnant of what we were going to do and how things were going to go, and this didn't fit into my plan. Not at all. And but I think we've kind of gone over that hump, and I'm seeing the other side, which I thought I would never see. I never thought I'd see the other side.
And just to kind of talk a little bit about, can I talk a little openly about what we
Go
did
ahead.
with them?
Yep.
So Tyler came into our office, and we started out with a type of treatment called neurofeedback or EEG biofeedback, and what that consists of is actually there's a science behind it. It's very, very interesting, where we take a snapshot of his brain with an evaluation called a QEEG or quantitative encephalography. I think I said that wrong. Electroencephalography.
Sounded good to me.
And so then what we do is we compare his brain to other children his age, and this is a normative database, and these are individuals that range in age from like 4 to 90. We plug in his birth date, pulls in a collection of maps that pertain to his age, superimposes his map over the others, and we can see where the differences are. And in his circumstance, we saw an elevated amount of mood instability, anxiety, and then also some depression. Mm-hmm. And so our treatment regimen then became twofold. I would come out and visit with you. We'd actually have family meetings, and we would bring things like, in my office and talk about, like, here was a scenario that we actually dealt with, and divert over to Tyler and see what his perspective was. And a lot of times he'd sit there and just wouldn't say anything.
Yeah.
Yep.
Remember that?
Oh yeah.
I mean, even after you feeling really upset and showing a high degree of being emotionally upset,
Yeah.
and Aaron, you as well, he seemed a little either muted by it, or he was like numb by it, or something wasn't. It didn't seem like he was actually really able to gauge that very well, or
he just
it was
wasn't
really
present.
is uncomfortable with it, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Just kind of shut it out.
Mm-hmm.
So in our continuing to work together, we'd come in and we'd check in, and things consistently, like in addition to the treatment, things improved some,
Mm-hmm.
but then there was this consistent standoff, and it was how involved you were with Tyler in that process, and you had, it's just like you putting the hand on the coat.
Yeah.
And you never, and I always tell Tyler, I always told him, you're so lucky to have a mom like this and the parents like this, because they're so involved and they're not going to let go. And that kind of stubbornness is a great dedication to, kids. It says a lot about parenting. And so over the course of time, then, came in another story, this is what happened. You guys are really upset, and you got into the screaming match again. So we made the call to get on medication.
Yeah.
Yep.
And this time with Dr. Morales,
Mm-hmm.
she nailed it right on the head.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty conservative when it comes to medication with my child, and I understand people's pushback on medication. They don't want to keep throwing, all these chemicals and whatnot down their kids' throats. I get it. But at some point, you have to say, I can't help him or her. Something has to give. I can't imagine our household with him not having that medication. It's so much more peaceful and calm. And he doesn't get to that boiling point of like level 10. Yeah, he gets upset, sure. But it's not to that rage anymore. It's not like a temper tantrum. It's full on like rage. And he doesn't even understand why he's angry.
And let's talk about that, the full-on rage. I mean, we had the example of how he shredded and just trashed the bathroom. There have been other moments of the ragefulness?
Yeah.
Has it ever gotten physical?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so then that's further increasing like the awareness that there's something substantially going on with this kid, because when it escalates to that point, and I think that we as parents, we try to rationalize that as, okay, well, he's upset. I mean, maybe even question yourself. Okay, I shouldn't have done that. Should have just let him be. Aaron, you're nodding your head.
Yep.
And we should have just left it alone, not pushed him too hard. But then you're compromising your parenting.
Right.
You're not parenting that child.
Well, it got to a point where we were seriously considering sending him to a boys' home for a while, just so that he could. I don't know. We
hit the reset button.
We were at our ends of our rope. We didn't know what to do anymore. But
yeah.
Yeah,
it was a bad time. It was a bad time because we love him. We love him so much. We weren't ready to give up on him, but we didn't know what else to do. It was getting to the point where, our safety was at stake.
Because he's a big kid now, right?
Yeah.
And he's not like a little 5, 6, 7-year-old that you can just pick up,
right.
Put him in his room.
But I think the moment when I said, okay, we need medication was when it was coming to that point. And then also when he got into my face, it was probably like inches away from my own face, and he's screaming at me. And at the top of his lungs, his throat probably felt like fire afterwards because he yelled at me and he said, "Help me. Can't you see? I need help." I said, "Oh my God. Okay."
Something has to be done at that point. Yeah, as a parent.
I tried everything that I could before the medication. And I did. I went through behavior modification, went to see his doctor. I talked to his doctor.
You did everything they recommended you to do.
Everything I could. And, it hurt, every now and then when he'd say, "You don't care about me," or "I hate you." But I had to love him for both of us.
And that's a very heavy toll.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back after these messages.
This is Pete the Fast Freak, host of Race Talk, the motorsports talk show, heard every Sunday live from 4 to 6 p.m. right here on Talk Radio 1190. When the races are over, we're just getting started with the latest news and results from NASCAR, NHRA, the IndyCar Series, and what's going on right here in the Dallas-Fort Worth racing scene. So join me, Pete the Fast Freak, every Sunday live right here on Talk Radio 1190 from 4 to 6 p.m. for the latest in the world of motorsports. And remember, keep your racing on the track, not on the street.
Are you in the mood to save some money? Sounds like a silly question because everyone wants to save money. I know I do. Hello, this is Dane Miner, General Manager of Freeman Toyota, and we have several 2015 Toyota Camrys for sale starting at $17,995. And Freeman Toyota has financing as low as 1.9% up to 72 months. That means you could be driving around in the #1 selling car in America for a lot less than probably what you're paying right now. This is just one of the many examples of what's available on our pre-owned lot at Freeman Toyota. You want a vehicle under $10,000 that actually comes with a rigorous inspection and the Freeman Toyota stamp of approval? Then log on to freemantoyota.com and search our inventory. It's all right there. Full disclosure, full transparency, and Freeman Toyota, a real family-owned and operated business that you can trust, serving the families of the DFW Metroplex since 1952. Save money today at freemantoyota.com or come by and see us 183 and 820 just south of the Northeast Mall.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
I love my Craftsman tools, but so do my kids and my neighbors.
I told Brendan, when his Craftsman tools disappear, come see us at Ace. We've got Craftsman hand tools, power tools, accessories, mowers, everything.
Ace is the place with a ton of Craftsman. Ton as in a lot. We've never actually weighed everything.
Now through Monday, come in for the Ace 4th of July Craftsman sale and get the best prices of the summer on select Craftsman products. Offer valid at participating stores. Store stock only. See store for details.
Raise your hand if you think you know what identity theft is. Just kidding. This is a radio commercial. We can't tell if your hand is up. But we can tell you that if you think identity theft is when someone adds charges to your credit card, you're only partially right. Identity theft is when someone pretends to be you, to open new accounts in your name, or any number of other bad things. That's where LifeLock can help. We use proprietary technology to detect and alert you to a whole range of identity threats. And if you have a problem, our U.S.-based team of specialists will work to fix it. You'll get more protection with LifeLock than you get from free credit monitoring alone. Obviously, no one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses, but LifeLock is the best identity theft protection available. Join LifeLock right now and get a special 15% discount off your first year. Visit LifeLock.com and use promo code 15OFF. That's 15 off to take advantage of an incredible 15% discount off your first year. Act now. Offer ends July 3rd. Go to LifeLock.com and enter promo code 15OFF. LifeLock.
You're listening to the Therapy Hour with Rusty Lozano, brought to you by the Center for Biofeedback and Behavior Therapy in Addison, Texas.
Hi, and welcome back to the show. If you're just joining us, we are visiting with a family, Tyler, Brenda, and Aaron, about their experience with medication and like their child and his behavior over time and how things are a little different. So let's kind of turn the page a little bit. And he's on medication. He's been at treatment at my center, and you're working with Dr. Morales.
Yes.
And how are things?
Things are better than I expected. I really didn't know what to expect. Once we put him on the drug that he's on now, Prozac, and he's different. He accepts physical affection. He gives physical affection. He jokes around, wants to be around us, doesn't try to put himself in his room and lock himself away, because he would always do that. He would always separate himself from us in the house. He's just different. His grades have improved. I mean, they got to and he's a smart kid. My kid's smart. I know everybody says that about their kid, but he's a really smart kid.
He's super talented, too.
He's super talented,
he does a lot
too. He's got a lot of, he has so much potential to be what he wants to be. And we try to foster that and give him encouragement. And but no, he's so much better. So much better.
Let's hear from Tyler. Tyler, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
So you've heard the entire story, and you know it. You lived it.
Yes.
How are you feeling?
Well, I mean, listening to all of that, it definitely brought me back to it, and it was very uncomfortable. But I mean, I knew that wasn't me. Like whenever I would go into those rages, I honestly couldn't control anything that I was doing. And it was just a terrible experience, and I'm really, really glad I'm not that same person anymore. Because I mean, right now I have never been this happy ever before, and I'm just so grateful that I have my parents that care about me so much. Because honestly, I mean, if I didn't have the care that they had given me, then I would probably be the same way I was, and it's not me. So.
Well, let me ask you something. You said you were uncomfortable. Was it uncomfortable to hear this?
Yes, it was uncomfortable to relive that because I don't know, I'm just embarrassed to see that myself what used to be like that rather than I am right now, that wasn't me.
But Tyler, you know what, buddy? I mean, there's no shame, there's no embarrassment, and this is a message that we're sending out to everybody.
Yeah.
That when there's something that you're struggling with and you can't help, and these things happen, that it's who you are. It's part of like what's going on, and a lot of times it could be a chemical imbalance in the brain, and it necessitates treatment. So there's no shame.
Yeah.
And in fact, like I think that historically, those who can actually discuss and identify and talk about things that they've lived through, traumatic, challenging, judgment, and things that are embarrassing, have really overcome it. It's the hiding, it's the shame, it's the keeping it a secret.
Yes.
That I think kind of makes that manifestation, makes the whole scenario live in itself. It actually has a life of its own. And so, no secrets here, no shame. It's your life.
I remember Tyler coming home one day from school, and I said, "How was your day?" Blah blah blah, that kind of stuff. And he says, "I don't understand it." I said, "Understand what?" He says, "I don't understand how people are just walking in the halls, going to class, and they're happy. I see them, and they're smiling, and they're laughing." And he said, "I don't understand it. How do you feel that?" And that took me back. I thought, wow, he's really sad.
How insightful is that?
Yeah. So,
just to see it from another perspective.
Yeah.
Do you remember like when it was like to
yes, I do remember
trust the bathroom? What was going through your mind?
Well, Whenever I was going through that, honestly, I was just enraged with. I don't even know what I was enraged with. Honestly, I had no idea why I was angry. I was just angry.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I went completely out of control. And it
So
was.
were you thinking about anything? Were you thinking about like while the motions?
While I was thinking about that, I felt kind of depressed because I just felt like that there was no help for me, that there was no like light at the end of the tunnel for me, that there would be no possible way that like I would be any different. I would be happy.
So you're fed up. You're angry with yourself. You're angry about like the circumstance of your life, and that fed your anger. That fed the anxiety. You know, I'm writing this book, and it's designed for PTSD, but really it's designed for any scenario where thoughts are followed by a physical response. And there's a huge connection between the way that we think about things and the way that our body feels. When your body feels uncomfortable, you're going to have uncomfortable thoughts. Vice versa. If you have uncomfortable thoughts, your body's going to react in an uncomfortable way.
He would never let me touch him. When he was in that rage, he would tell me, I physically hurt. Do not touch me.
You physically hurt. What was hurting?
It was just like the human touch alone. It made me feel uncomfortable. It made me like my skin crawl. It wasn't normal. It didn't feel normal.
So you know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of the little girl that walked out of my office, you know, in a panic, and she's going to be back, you know, and we're going to continue to work on this, and the mom is committed, but you know, a perception. A reality that you have is a combination of thought and reaction, physical reaction. That's what makes a reality. If we were in a room full of spiders, if spiders didn't bother me, I wouldn't be jumping. But if spiders were panicking your mom, you know,
burn
she'd be
the whole
like,
place down.
she would be on the table, like jumping around everywhere. So that perception, then, you know, when you disturb that combination of thought and physical reaction, when you thwart that manifestation, then you disrupt the emotional response. And so I'm wondering if like that, you know, a need for you not to be touched, you didn't like it, that's a way of kind of pulling you out of this internal world where all of this anger and all of these thoughts are ruminating between the body and the mind. And like you're just a living, present state of anger and frustration and rage. But then a touch from the outside makes you intellectualize, okay, what am I doing? What am I thinking? How am I feeling? And you didn't like that feeling. It's a very uncomfortable state, just like it led this little girl to leave. And so, you know,
when I could touch him, that's when I knew he was coming down.
And that's where his mind now was, where his thoughts were now starting to project into the outside world and not into this inside world where, you know, potential for anything could exist.
Right.
You know, she hates me. She doesn't like me. This place, I hate my life. And so any of those thoughts that you're having were being reinforced and kept alive by your physical state, your physical reaction.
And he also did suffer from panic attacks. And I haven't seen very many of them of late. And I don't know if that's because of also the Prozac or not. But I have, he did suffer from panic attacks where he would just call me and be like, I can't breathe, you know, and he was like, I'm going to pass out, and, you know.
Yeah, and that's that disconnect between what's going on in the body and what's going on in the thoughts. When your body and your mind are disconnected, you know, it's like the dog biting its own tail. Like, get this dog out of here, and he's chasing him around, and it's his own tail, and he's chasing it. But he in that moment, he's not aware that that's
part of him,
And so that's what happens.
Yeah.
That's what happens to all of us.
Yeah.
And so the practice then becomes, and this is what I tell my patients, is to practice staying in the external world, the here and now. That's a cue word that we use with families. Here and now means I'm present in front of you. We're in this room. You have that blue shirt on. I have this shirt on. This is the here and now. So the emotional state is in the mind. Practice getting out of this place. Practice getting out of the find something to anchor you and bring your awareness and your attention to the outside world. That's where the cool down process.
He found a lot of things that he could do to calm himself, to kind of snap him back out, you know. One of them was chewing gum. He chews gum like crazy, and it helps with his stress. So he knows he can do that. Unfortunately, showers, where he's in a calm state and something that's soothing, he would take.
That's an external stimulus.
Yeah. So he would do that. He's like, I'm so stressed out. I have to have a shower. Go ahead. Do whatever you need to do. He still tries his breathing techniques. In fact, he tried to do some right before a blood draw. But unfortunately, his anxiety
got the best of him.
And it's not a perfect, thing.
I don't know anybody who's happy to get blood drawn. So
was not fun.
Yeah. That would be a little bit different if they're like, I really enjoy this.
It's not like it's like we're a perfect, happy family. No, of course, we all still have
all of us do.
Absolutely. And he still has some issues, but we are not in that same place.
Yeah. I mean, that's what the job is to do, is to parent.
Right.
And so get our children ready for the outside world, ready to kind of launch. And so our job's not done. But now you have a lot of these excessive emotional manifestations out of the way, and now you're dealing with everyday teenage angst. And they call that the storm of adolescence. It's a storm of development because there's so much going on. Your life is, there's a lot of demands at school, and that's going to be it's stress at school, stress of all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, listen, guys, I want to really thank you for being on the show. This is really one of my a really great topic, and I think it's a great thing for people to hear and understand that there's help out there. So for those of you who are following, seek some help. Find no shame here.
Do your research.
Quality of life, making yourself feel happy. There are things you can do to help, and certainly taking the right steps to figure it out. Have a blessed day. Thank you for being on the show. 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 Thank you for being